Hey, what's up, guys? So, this video I'm making is in response to one of my viewers' direct question. His question is, how do I feel about cops? So, it is a difficult and complicated answer. And the reason it's complicated and difficult is because the answer to that question will differ depending on at what point in my life I was asked. Meaning, there were times where the answer would have been, I fucking hate cops. I fucking hate them and I despise them. And if they interfere in my life and get in my way, it's fucking open season. I differentiate in zero way between them and any other fucking gang member. I've told cops this shit before. That you are just some fucking punk, bitch-ass motherfucker who is in some little gay-ass gang that runs around wearing your fucking bitch-ass uniforms and think you're badasses. So, now, I obviously don't speak like that to cops, of course, but more importantly, I've grown and I've changed and I've come to somewhat of a different conclusion and opinion. There are good and bad among every segment of society. And again, it's a very important thing to keep in mind. My personal experience has been that it can go either way. There are obviously and clearly bad cops out there. I have seen cops on the streets beat people up. I have known of cops planting drugs. I have known of cops selling and using drugs. I've known of cops who take payoffs in the form of bribery. I've known cops who basically extort drug dealers and make them pay money in order to not arrest them. I've seen cops do all kinds of shit. I've seen cops, not seen in this case, but I've heard of cops who have sexually assaulted females. A lot of different things. And again, just for clarity's sake, when I say cop, I'm including in that correction officers, COs, anybody who wears a fucking badge and tries to enforce rules and tell people what to do is a cop, in my opinion. I have also seen some good ones. I have seen some good ones on the street, and I have seen some good ones behind the walls, in jails and prisons. Some of them, very few. And keep in mind, I've been in a lot of fucking institutions. A lot. Probably, if I counted them, since I was, little, since I started this shit, probably nearing 24 different lockups, institutions. I've come across so many correction officers, and in all that time, in all those places, in passing, I can think of two correction officers, actually both worked in the same place, who I think were very good people. Very good people, very genuine, very respectful, and they weren't punks, meaning if you disrespected them, there'd be problems, but they were gentlemen. And again, it doesn't mean that there's only two out of all this time. It means that in my experience, and keep in mind, I don't generally talk to cops and give them the opportunity, for me to get to know them. These two guys were real solid. One of them actually did a favor for me that I respect and will not forget and am actually indebted for. Some of you guys might have heard one of my other videos. I spoke about something that happened in solitary confinement one time where one correction officer lied and said that I tried to attack him. Long story short, they had me in this solitary confinement unit naked and handcuffed behind my back, about to beat me up, him and his friends. And another officer who I knew came down and stopped the whole thing. Now, he is someone who I am indebted to. That is a good man. Personality-wise, he was an asshole, but deep down, he was solid for what he did. And I don't say that only because he saved me, from getting my ass kicked. I say that also because I know the kind of person I am. Had that shit went down that day, I'd have come out of prison and I'd have fucking waged war on them. Especially that one guy who started the whole thing. And it would have turned out terrible. No matter what, I would have lost in the end. I would have got my fucking revenge, but I would have lost. So, there are good ones out there. There are very bad ones out there as well. But my general feeling about cops overall is that it's not something that I'm ever interested in. You know, for me, the way I look at it is they're controllers, basically. And I am not the kind of person that is trying to be in control of anybody. I'm not the kind of person that's trying to ruin people's lives. I'm not the kind of person that's trying to fucking detain people physically and forcefully against their will and remove them from their lives and from their friends and from their families and from their children. I'm not trying to do that. I understand that there's a need for police in some form. But in my opinion, the police should only interfere and involve themselves in something where there is a clear victim, and interfere in trying to stop that victimization. That's it. That's it. So with the way the current laws are, it would be impossible for me to ever even considering or even being friends with, really, a cop. Because I'm just, actually, I take that back. I can't say that I won't be friends with him. I have one particular guy who is no longer active, but a very solid friend of mine, and he's ex-law enforcement. So what I'm saying is, again, it's just not for me, guys. It's not my thing. I try to, because of my past life now, it's kind of strange that anytime I see cops or have to interact with them, you know, the old feelings come back right away. Even when I'm driving, you know, I could be driving down the road, minding my own business, and I see a cop behind me or I see police lights behind me, and automatically my heart rate goes up and I'm back in fucking panic mode. Not panic, but like, you know, super intense, you know, moments. Because back then when I get pulled over, every time I'm thinking, you know, this could be it right now. You know, we could be shooting at each other any second now. So it's a little different for me than it would be for a lot of other people. But again, on a personal level, I don't have any problem with anybody. I feel like a lot of the cops that I encounter, at least, the main issue seems to be the same, is that power given to anyone in any regard ultimately will lead to some type of abuse. Always. And that's the case. You know, there are experiments going back decades that confirm this. You know, where people who are given power in a false, created test environment also would tend to abuse those that they are in control over. And it's just one of those things. It's human nature for the most part. So my position generally is I stay the fuck away from them. I don't want nothing to do with them. I avoid them. When I do encounter cops, for example, I was pulled over driving my truck a couple weeks ago, coming to work, and I went through a red light knowingly. It turned yellow, boom. I knew I wasn't going to make it. I said, fuck it, let me go. The cop came out of nowhere, pulled me over. I show him respect in the interaction, in how I speak, and how I move. I don't cause any reason for him to be nervous or suspicious of me. And he was very respectful, and he actually let me go as a courtesy. So there's an example of a cop who's a good guy. He's reasonable. He understood what it was. He didn't try to be an asshole, and it all worked out. I moved on. A couple months ago, I had another issue happen with some cops where it didn't turn out that way. Where they rolled up on me and fucking turned their lights on and started screaming orders at me, get back in your fucking car, this and that. And it didn't turn out that way. And I told them that I'm not getting back in my fucking car. And who the fuck are you to tell me what the fuck I'm going to do? And again, that's another story I'm not going to share for other reasons. But in the end, you know, the way that story turned out was they hit me with a bunch of bullshit, and there was no consequence as a result, but it could have gone bad because some of these cops could have shot me. They could have said, oh, he tried to attack me, whatever. The point, going back to the reason I try to just avoid cops in general, is because I'm very aware of myself. I'm very aware of the kind of person I am. And one of the things that I hate most in life are bullies and abuse of power. So I know that if I go out a lot for example, if I put myself out there in places at night especially and doing things, the likelihood of me coming across cops goes up ridiculously. It's only a matter of time. And in those encounters, it's only a matter of time before I cross one of those bad ones. And again, going back to what I just said, I know myself. And me and a bad cop or a group of bad cops could turn out really, really bad. And for that reason, I just avoid them. So to sum up, I would advise you guys to, not hate anyone, but not necessarily trust cops at all just because they're cops. They're fucking humans just like everybody else. But be aware that there are good and bad. The difference between cops is 9 times out of 10, their word will be taking over yours. Remember that. So they can plant evidence on you. They can fucking lie. They can create false narratives. And no one will fucking believe you for the most part. So be cautious. If you do encounter them, talk respectfully. Keep your demeanor calm. And generally, you'll be able to get out of that situation. Don't raise your voice at them like I do still sometimes. Don't get too excited. Don't make any sudden movements. And basically do as they ask you to do just to avoid any unforeseen possible consequence. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you next time.